This year we were just shy of 500 million. My sister called me at 5 in the morning and she told me, Mom just passed away. We're losing our culture, yes, but what's done is done now.
Success rarely starts with success. It starts with failure, hard lessons, and moments that force you to rebuild. Through family,
My parents had separated when I was 6 years old.
fatherhood,
My father had opened a pet store, which I took care of.
and personal loss,
My mother was sick for 7 years.
he found a way to keep moving forward. Losses turned into lessons,
How much money was lost?
It was about 250,000 euros.
and lessons turned into wins.
I had sold the Tower Palace Hotel in Sliema for 3.5 million Maltese euros.
This is Michael Bonello.
What was the biggest year for you? I know this sounds crazy, but what if I told you that I found a system, a cheat code that can make your team dash business push faster? Not by more pressure or either more meetings, just a smarter way where progress feels good. Because the truth is, and let's be honest, that most people don't move for numbers. They move because they can see themselves improving, winning, and moving forward. And that's exactly what Motileo does. Motileo turns everyday work into life challenges, where your team sees progress, climbs the board, celebrates wins, and keeps pushing. By the end of it, work feels fun, clearer, and also faster. No complicated setup, no extra noise, just straight momentum. I can't not say this. Teams using Motileo have seen performance boosts up to 104% in just 30 days. And this is a fact. We have just created a success blueprint where you can find the link down below in the description for free. And that is the exact idea that Motileo is providing to you as a work as a game setup for your business dash team. Go steal it before your competitor finds out. I wrote down a bit of points about it today that honestly I felt a bit emotional writing them down. There was a point in your life where you were a different mic, and today I'm facing a different mic as well. But from failure to success, you stayed the same person and you met a lot of different people that shaped your life. I'm here to discuss that today. But I always like to start off with the rise and the beginning of Mike. 14, 15-year-old, 16, let's go on to 16, so there's a 2-year difference. What did people love about you?
I wasn't exactly an A student, if you feel. But yes, I was always one of the trouble kids if you're at school. Truth is, my parents had separated when I was 6 years old. That's 41 years ago.
It didn't really affect you, so you were quite young.
Yes, 6 years old. But I was, don't forget, separation was very much a taboo in Malta at the time. I was the only kid in my school in Ġifieri who had separated parents. So it didn't affect me much personally. I mean, but in the outside, I had separated parents, so it's from the end where it does affect you, where you have, my kids, my friends in the weekends had, I don't know, hobbies like watching Formula One, football, this and that. Being brought up by a mother is different because you don't have much time with your father. But the truth is, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and it makes you build a shell. But when it comes out to socializing, you end up staying probably with the wrong kind of kids, the trouble kids,
Do you believe you were in that situation?
Yes, I was very much.
At what age? Let's go back to the ages.
I can tell you my final exam of fifth year, Form 5. I got arrested.
No way.
The day of my final exam, actually.
What happened there? What happened there?
It was stupid. There was this garage with alcohol where kids we put up the garage and we stole a few bottles. We started selling them. I mean, we were kids.
Good idea.
And we got caught. Well, yeah, it's kid stuff. But
Exactly.
But we got arrested. I'm in the police station of St. Julian's. The day before your final exam of fifth form, everybody's excited to leave school.
Exactly.
Wasn't myself, were a few kids. But stupid things that make you learn a lot in life,
For sure. Was there one thing that people looked at you and said you were good at that age? Younger you?
Talking when we were back at school, I was always a bit entrepreneurial and business-minded. It was always, I used to walk it from school, so I used to stop at Buckham's in Zira, buy the Maltese, those if they're here, take them to school and sell them to the school kids. I used to bring magazines and sell them to the kids. At the time, we used to steal cars, the badges of cars, and go to the school and sell them. So it was always stupid things. But I used to make money at that age. So
sports was never your
no.
topic.
I was always a bit overweight from that end. I wasn't very big, but sport wasn't really much of my interest.
you always focus. So you mentioned a good point that you hang around with the wrong people.
Yeah.
But do you believe that shaped who you are today?
That's obviously...
In points in your life,
obviously,
not full.
what I believe that if I used to maybe mix with a better crowd, I would have probably had better grades at school, and my interest would be more scholastic, and academic, when it was always running around with a skateboard or a bicycle, and Sliema on the front, it was different. So the truth is, if you're in a room with 4 smart kids, you're going to be the fifth smart kid. If you're going to be in a room with 4 losers, you're going to be the 5th loser, So the things changed at an age where obviously you start learning through life, but then things really changed when my ex-wife got pregnant with my first daughter.
You were young?
I was 21, 22.
Okay, young, quite young.
So I was the first kid of my friends, who she had got pregnant. It wasn't easy, it was a shock.
How did that impact you though, overall?
The truth is, you decide the right path you want to go to. And say, it's either...
I don't think it was planned, 21.
No, not at all. Nothing was planned. I hadn't met her parents. She hadn't met my parents.
Wow,
We were only dating for just close to a year, and it just happened. So.
But I don't think it's a mistake looking back now.
No, not at all. My kids are obviously the most important thing in my life.
For sure. Looking back, you're young and you're enterprising. But there also come fails.
Yeah.
And those I wrote down somewhere here that those are part in your life where you opened a pet store, if I'm not mistaken.
My father had opened a pet store, which I took care of. It was a pet superstore. We had 5...
It was quite big, huh? It was quite big.
Two floors, 5 full-timers in a pet shop. You can...
Take us through that a bit.
I was 18 at the time. My father was in the catering business. We had some major restaurants which are still operating today. And he had this plan with a partner.
But it's quite unique, huh? Quite unique, a pet store. It's quite unique.
Yes, because at the time, the Maltese mentality was these small pet stores, And this was when I said, they're going to build something totally different. There was a floor on the floor 1, which was full of aquariums. Reptiles were the first people to bring reptiles to Malta. Live animals, dogs, cats. And the business was great, At the time, we were discussing, don't forget, we're looking at 25 years plus. This shop used to do, with the Maltese lira, about 3,000, 4,000 euros a day, which were great sales at the time.
For sure.
The reality is that two clients who used to hang around in the shop and study what was happening, decided to open 2 pet superstores too. One was in the south and one was in Guardamangia. And the market obviously didn't grow. So if there was 100 people buying pet stuff, so if I was selling 3,000, the 3,000 was divided by 3, and we ended up selling 1,000 each, and we all failed. We all closed down. And the market is what it is.
But you're explaining it in a very quick, not sensitive way. But there's a huge lesson to it.
Yes, for sure.
So it went from going with partners. Am I right? Were they partners? Were they considered partners?
No. The people who had the other shops.
Exactly.
No. They were clients who were there studying the business, what was happening. They were friends. They were always there studying what was happening.
Consultants, in a way, in other words?
No. They were clients, just clients.
Okay.
But the truth is, you end up like a social club over there during, people come there discussing reptiles, fish, birds, and everybody comes there after work. So it was like
a community.
And 2 of them were enterprising people, and they decided to obviously open their own stores. There was one which was in Valley Road. She had a glass flooring with a crocodile underneath at the time, and that was very cool. You had to impress
But
clients.
you had shares in this business?
No.
In the other ones?
No.
So they stole...
Yes, they stole the idea.
Not the idea, they stole your share, you can say.
The market share of the local market share, basically.
So you went into investing...
At the time, it was a very large investment. We had over 150 aquariums upstairs. Half of them were with fish. You're importing fish from all over the world. Reptiles,
What happened when you said it's coming to an end? What was the feeling like?
Obviously, it was 3-4 years of my life over there, so it wasn't a short
For sure.
time, and obviously you think about this was part of my life at that time, and obviously it wasn't the plan to remain in that business, but it was fun, just meeting people every day. Reality, it just happened, it came to a time that it didn't even make sense remaining open. We just gave away the animals and closed the door.
How much money was lost?
If I remember, it was about 100,000 Maltese, which was 250,000 euros. But we're talking about 25 years ago, so it was quite an amount of money. My father had to pay them off, obviously. So
For sure. One lesson you learned from all that?
Everybody thinks that opening a business is easy, nobody looks at the reality of operating a business.
For sure.
And everybody looks at the tip of the iceberg. They don't understand how difficult it is. Many don't understand, don't get me wrong. But having a successful business has its own stress, and failures. Failures is something which is very important. When you talk to businessmen, many of them have failed in life and tried
For
again.
sure.
So it's not something, which very few are successful and they remain successful. When you start looking at bios of large businessmen, they've always passed through failures and they kept trying, until they've done it the right way.
For sure. I'm actually listening to you stating the tip of the iceberg and failing and all these things. And I'm currently reading a book. And for me to read a book, I'm the biggest dyslexic kid in this room.
Okay.
but
I'm not a book fan myself neither, but
no,
I
but
like listening.
exactly. But it's like my night routine currently is just I read around 10 pages and I just sleep because my eyes I won't sleep if I'm looking at my phone. But it's the Diary of a CEO, this book, and he stated that the more you fail, the more you succeed. But there's a bigger meaning to it, and there's a story around how Tom Ford managed to state this and he made it into reality, and Toyota as well. But all these big people, the more they fail, you have to out how was it? You have to outfail your competitor, something like that. It was
It's
big lesson for me.
Yes, for sure. And the truth is, behind every business, there's a group of people who are making it successful. So I believe having a good business isn't only about yourself.
So do you think you were surrounded by the not best people for the pet store?
At that time it was different. No, everybody had their niche. It was a small operation. It's different. Today, in the real estate market, is a totally different thing.
We'll get back to that soon because you made a very big impact locally here in Malta. And I would like to discuss the local impact, also the future of that. You were, can I state this, overweight?
I thought I was overweight. One day I went to the doctor and he told me I'm obese. To kick the shit out of him today. It was a shock. But I went home and said, yeah, I'm obese, And it
It's not a nice word, huh?
No, not at all. And
how old were you here?
This was 2 years ago. When before 2 years ago, I did the operation 2 years ago, February, so it's exactly 2 years. But when somebody tells you, you're obese, it gave me a shock.
It sounds a bit.
The truth is, when I had separated, I was 120 kilos. Obviously, changing lifestyle.
How much are you now? Sorry, just to keep you.
I went up to 150, and now I'm at 85.
Okay.
So what happened was in that period when I had separated, I basically went on a tangent on growing my business, and it was all the time dinners out, lunches, meeting people,
For sure.
and expanding. So you don't have the home meals, and it was all about socializing, and I increased 30 kilos in a very short span. And it came to a point that there was no going back. You see a hill, you start thinking it twice to go up a hill. The health, the breathing went from bad to worse. Long haul flights, forget it really. It's the first time last December I went.
Why is that?
It's all about anxiety, panic, losing your breath, you feel claustrophobic in a plane, even sitting on the chair. It came to an extent where you were feeling uncomfortable, even clothes. I love wearing clothes. I had
For sure.
clothes, brands of
Meeting
clothes shops.
people every single day.
At the time, I used to have 3 major brands of clothes, which it came to an extent that certain brands didn't even fit me, my own brands.
What were the brands?
I was Paul and Shark, Harmon and Blaine, and Trussardi.
Okay.
when you go to do your own orders and you have to order 3XL, 4XL, 5XL, you know, it wasn't comfortable. So, suits, I had my own tailor doing my own suits, you know. But forget the outside, because it's not all
Let's talk about the inside. Yeah, you're right.
You know, I mean, sleeping was very uncomfortable. I suffered from sleep apnea, so I had a mask on my nose, compressing air, not to close my air vent.
What happens? Sorry, it's a medical question I would like to ask, just for knowledge. What happens if you don't wear that?
See, basically, your air vent closes and not enough oxygen goes up to your brain. So obviously, you sleep for 10 hours and you wake up with a broken sleep, you know, and uncomfortable. You sleep, you're tired. The minute you have lunch or dinner, you start falling asleep. And severe cases start falling asleep even while they're driving. I had, from a I had gone to a severe case. I mean, I had to sleep with the machine every night, and it gave me a good 8 hours sleep, and it gave me a normal life, but it wasn't comfortable sleeping with this machine.
For sure.
Thousands of people have it, I mean, hundreds of thousands, and it's something which is very normal today. It's not only about obesity, this is something, I mean, a friend of mine is a rugby player, has a perfect figure, but
exactly,
he has sleep apnea. It's him, his sister, his father.
Wow, okay.
Obviously, when you're overweight and when you have a bull neck, you know, there are things which...
Many people, there's a trigger to many big changes. So, for example, you went from... We'll talk about it, from Remax to Alliance. There was a big change, and we'll speak about it because we spoke about it over a coffee. But I want one specific story of when you said this has to be done. What was it?
No, so the thing is, I thought that I'm going to die, the truth. I mean, the discomfort, the loss of breath, I couldn't walk. I mean...
You spoke about it with people?
Not really, that's something you keep personally all the time. I mean, after my marriage, I had a relationship of a year and a half, and we used to talk about it. But the truth is, it was never the plan to do this operation. It just came very short period, 2-3 months, and I decided to do it. Then, you know, I mean, there was always a chance that I was scared that I'm going to lose my life during the operation.
It's possible.
It isn't. The percentage is very minimal, you know, but they have to put up your liver before the operation. You're supposed to lose 15 kilos because they have to operate.
Which you did, or?
I had lost some 10 kilos, you know, and the doctor had told me, listen, this is a serious case. But he was ready to go ahead with it after this, which we had done. After I did, I'm going to tell the truth. A large number of people called me, and I had passed a lot of business to the doctor, in fact. A lot of my friends passed through the operation and did it.
Because it's a huge change, I want to be very honest. It's a huge change. I saw some pictures, like, it's unrecognizable. I want to be very honest.
Yes. Listen, a lot of people prefer me the way I was, in reality.
That's true.
A lot of people. So, on the look-wise, it wasn't... But
that's because I think you were, like... Many more years. That's who they believe Mike is.
That was Michael Bonello, you know.
Exactly. Who do you believe you are currently?
A smaller version, but I had.
What changed? What changed you from this?
I was a big boy, you know. Today it's a normal body, you know. I have.
What changed you from this?
There's nothing really much that changed me. I mean, today I live a very comfortable life. It's normal again. I mean.
Back to normal.
Back to normal, and. The truth is, you never can believe that in 2 years, you know, from obese to being normal.
Exactly. Would you have ever thought that?
It's crazy. I mean, but it's done. Yeah, it's 70 kilos less. No joke.
No joke at all. No joke at all.
And it comes obviously at different times. I mean, my clothes from 4XL, 3XL, 2XL, XL. I mean, the past 2 years, the wardrobes have been changing. You
can't just go onto a store and say, okay, this is my fit.
No. You just keep going, changing. The sizes are totally different. You know?
How do people react to it?
Till today, the truth. Today I walked into the gym and he told me I have to put my membership, and I wrote Michael Bonello. He told me, Michael Bonello, of the property. I told him yes. But I remember a different Michael Bonello, you know. This was just happened this morning. So it's something which happens.
You feel uncomfortable?
No,
from people like always.
Well, sometimes yes. I mean, when you go out and you know, it's just how you change this, that. I mean, it's. But all
For sure.
the comments are good, so it's a good thing. I mean, I'm looking much better than what was, so yeah.
For sure. Let's go into the property side of things, where locally, I think it's made a huge change in the past 10 years. So I'm still very young, I'm 20 years old, but the past 5 years, what I've witnessed is that a lot of change has been done. Do you believe that it's fair to the country that it's passing through this change?
When we're talking about real estate change, I mean, everybody talks about the large supply of property which is on the market, but the truth is everything is selling. When we look at available stock, it's very limited. When we look at upcoming stock, before we used to sell property on plan, the interest for developers to buy property on plan has literally gone down because to buy a site today, the prices have become incredibly high. So many developers are keeping their stock and renting because you're selling a property today at 300,000. You're building a new site and they're going up to 350,000. So you're always competing with yourself realistically with the market. So today, smart developers are thinking of keeping some stock, changing their finance from a development to a buy-to-let, and renting their property because the capital appreciation today is incredible. I mean, stock in 10 years' time with the rise of 8% per annum. So
It's nuts.
Rise. It's nuts.
I believe Malta's like a cake. Every single day we're cutting a piece of the cake. We have a lack of land. It's insane.
For sure. But there's no way of going back now. I mean, unless we're going to go to land
But
reclamation or high-rise buildings. I mean, an only advantage where Malta, there are certain locations where land reclamation can be done and we can create something really new. And, I believe that is the only way. Or you're buying a location and you're looking at high-rise buildings.
Do you think there'll be a stop to this?
There'll never be a stop. The truth is we're very limited. So what happens today? You're buying a terraced house and you're putting up 5 apartments.
Exactly.
You're buying a small house and you're putting
But the
6
culture is
apartments.
leaving. We're losing our culture.
We're losing our culture, yes, but what's done is done now. You can't go back. If you look at a streetscape and there's 5 floors, a house, 5 floors, a house, those houses have to be changed to 5 floors
Doesn't make
now.
sense,
I
exactly.
mean, it looks ugly aesthetically.
Exactly.
What I would do is look back at the old buildings, the old office blocks, residential blocks, and think of recreating, buying them all out, and looking at high-rise because you have to be detached from 3 or 4 roads and look at high-rise buildings. And there are certain locations where land reclamation can be done.
Where do you believe this can happen?
There's certain locations in St. Julian's, if I'm not wrong, in Baharcha, and you create a small town out of it. I mean, there's a lot which can.
For
be done.
sure. I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just asking questions because
Yes.
I'm always here to sit down and learn. But the more we continue to build, the more people are gonna come here. It's obvious.
Exactly. And the stock is
But do I have space for more people? That's the question.
When we look at the traffic impact in Malta,
It's crazy.
It is crazy. But listen, where isn't traffic crazy? You've been in London, you've been in
For
Rome,
sure.
it's everywhere.
But Malta's like all around.
Yes,
It's impossible.
Let's say something stupid, Sigma, which was a gaming event which everybody looks forward to in Malta
Exactly.
in the business market. People were complaining on the traffic impact. This is a week.
No, but the traffic was mad.
Yes,
I was
was
in
mad.
it. I was.
The millions of foreigners, the thousands of foreigners come, and the millions of investment, which people spend in that short span of a week. This is a vicious circle. If
For
these
sure.
people make money, I mean,
The money made in
the
Sigma
money
is
made,
huge.
it's hundreds of millions. We're talking about big money. So then you have stupid people who complain about the traffic impact. Stupid. It's not stupid. Don't get me wrong. But what happened? He decided to pull the plug and go to another country. So we lost
Which
a
he
large
did.
investment.
Which he did. And that's what I'm here today, because our audience are either people who want to hear your story or either inspired by your story. There's no in between. So there's either one or the other.
Yeah.
So now let's go into the bit of the success story. Mike, as mentioned before, I'm still young, and me seeing 10 years of the impact in Maltese culture is totally shifted. And I think you were the one who grasped the opportunity and managed to take over the industry. Take us through. So your story in the very beginning of property. How did you enter the property industry?
So when we're talking about what happened was we used to live a street off the seafront in Sliema. We had a villa and we had a front garage, long front garden, the house in the middle and a garden at the back. So it was 180 foot long.
The
house.
usual house, is
Yes.
that the old times? Exactly.
And a permit came up on the house next to us of 7 floors. So imagine, in a year and a half, we had a long wall of 180 feet on the left-hand side. My mom went nuts. My mom loved playing in the garden, and obviously there was not much light left.
How old were you here?
Early 20s down.
Still young, okay.
I had just closed the pet shop. So that is when I wasn't working at the time, to tell the truth. And little did we know that the neighbor on the other side sold his house, so it ended up being a sandwich. And there was no way what to leave. I mean, so my mom told me, I am the only man from my father, or from my mother's end, and told me, Mike, can you help me take care of it? And I had no idea about real estate. I started asking around.
Sales, you had an idea though.
Yes. But I started calling, and there's a house in Sliema, which is for development, and estate agents started coming over. And they started bringing developers. People weren't interested in buying the house, obviously. So I knew the grass, listen, this is 6 floors. You can have 1 apartment per floor, this, that, you know. But my mother didn't want to sell subject to permits. She was worried, you know, this is her only life investment. Then a guy came and he decided to buy it with no conditions. My mom bought a new property. But during that time, I started speaking to the developers. There was this estate agent who I thank him for bringing me into real estate. His name was Fernando. Today he lives 6 months of his life in Goa and 6 months in Ibiza. So it's
Bit of a mix.
total
Exactly.
mix. But I thank him. He brought me into the market because he had told me, listen, he told me, you're good at this. Told me, did you ever think of joining real estate? And I told him, listen, to the truth, I've always been my own boss, you know, and it's not something I'd consider. He told me, listen, you're your own boss in real estate. The company gives you the tools, but the truth is you're creating your own
For
company and your own name. And at the time, he used to work for Sara Grech. He introduced me to Sara, and I started real estate. So this is how it all started. My first sale, in reality, was Tigné Point. Tigné Point was still a football pitch. There was nothing. It was the first time a project was sold on a 3D walkthrough. We had gone, that's still there, there's the chapel in Tigné and Censo Sherry Street.
Exactly.
So we used to take our clients into this chapel. There was this screen, you sit them down, and it was a 3D walkthrough. We hadn't seen this. So people were literally excited. They'll walk out, then you see the 3D.
Exactly.
And so I want this apartment, and it was literally like people buying hotcakes, you know what I mean? And they were dealing and redealing properties.
What was your first big deal out of all this?
My first big deal was an apartment. At the time, it was 350,000 euros, so it was a big sale. My client resold it there. He said, what is there available? And there was a penthouse. Salvo Dopo, he passed away recently. And he had bought this penthouse. It was a 550,000 Maltese, so we're looking at what, 3.5 million euros. Don't forget, we're talking quite a long time ago, you know, these numbers. I had sold the hotel, I had sold the Tower Palace Hotel in Sliema for 3.5 million Maltese euros, which was a big,
Huge.
Crazy amount of money. Selling a dream, because it was something on plan. And we're talking about, you're selling a gated residence. The project took longer than expected, so obviously we got paid much
later down the line.
Stage. So you think you're making money, but in reality you're saving money. But when you see it from what it was to reality, what it is today, you know, you see the walkthrough, and now you're seeing it in reality. But this is how I started. Then one of my clients, I used to sell property on plan, was Kevin Buttigieg.
Okay.
He was one of my clients. I used to sell property on plan, and he used to flip them over. And he always told me, once I'm going to get this franchise to Malta, and you're going to work for me. And
which is Remax.
which was Remax.
Okay.
And the time came when he decided to open this company. He called me and told me nobody knew Remax was in Malta.
For sure.
It was something new. But it was the only company that had given us an opportunity, because it was either being an estate agent or a manager. Remax was the only company at the time was offering franchising. So it was your dream to have your own office. After 2 years operating with him, I decided to open my first office and never looked back. I ended up opening 10 offices.
How does that work? Fernando wants to start out.
Basically, you speak to the franchise, you find the location, and you build a team, and you start operating. It's not easy. People think that opening a real estate office is easy. The first year, few are the people who make money in real estate because the promise of sales you do are all going to turn on the second year. So year one, you lose money. Year two, if you're lucky, you break even or make some profit. And year three, your team is fully formed. You always have those few which are changing, but you would have built a team and probably head to success. It's not easy because today, I mean, it's building a team which is the most difficult part. But looking back at 10 offices and 120 agents at the time, so you don't...
Yourself, personally?
Yes. We had created a brand which was called Remax Alliance, at Remax.
How long did this take you to build?
It took us, about 15 years now. 15 years.
How many did you say?
15
No,
years.
as in people under the...
We had 10 offices and 120 agents.
What was the biggest year for you?
The biggest year was 2018, 19, where there was a lot of sale of property.
What's the amount, if I may ask? On plan?
On plan. That time we had sold 250,000 Maltese, which was a very large number. I mean, but there was a lot of people buying property on plan and flipping the property. So that was the game. Today you don't do that much now. I mean,
why not?
Because there isn't a lot of property on plan for sale. People prefer building, finishing, and launching them on the market once finished. Because at the time, developers used to buy a large number of sites, sell on plan, get their 10%, 20% deposit. They're working with the deposits, and they start obviously growing more businesses. But you're buying a property today by paying a 10 or 20% deposit. Once the project is completed in 2 years, people were making 40, 50, 60, 70,000 euros, you know, and for the smart developer, if you're making 50,000 euros in each apartment, on 10 apartments, it's 500,000, you know. So the smart developers and obviously the wealthy ones who could afford to do it were keeping the properties till the end. And once close to completion, they launched them 6 months to completion. Because you obviously they buy subject to bank loan, this and that. On completion, they would have sold the block and made that extra profit. We do develop some property ourselves.
We're speaking locally.
Yes.
The foreign market, does it work the same?
The foreign market, there's a strong foreign market here in Malta. Locally or
No. Just let's talk about the US, for example.
Let's talk about the US is a different market. I mean, let's talk about Dubai, for example.
Let's go on that, yeah.
Looking
Makes
at
sense.
Dubai. This year, Dubai, the plan is to increase the population of 1 million people population. That is the plan for the increase. So if you're looking at 1 million increase, you're looking at a minimum of what, 400,000 apartments, you know? So I mean, that's why there's a lot of development happening.
You investing there? Looking to?
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Makes sense.
I was there recently, twice. The truth is, I feel that the market is very volatile.
There.
Because you're buying in a desert at the end, you know. I mean, you keep buying and it keeps extending. If you see Dubai 20 years ago and Dubai today, it's growing all the time, you know.
That's how I opened up. So it's like Malta's a cake.
Yes, but
Malta's closed.
Malta's
We
closed.
can't add more.
Exactly. So that's why there's capital appreciation here. The people keep
They
saying
can just
that
keep
it's
building.
a balloon and the market is going to explode, this and that. But it doesn't happen. I mean, and it is. I don't believe it is going to happen, basically.
Do you think the market already exploded, as in a good way, exploded? And now we're at a very high.
We keep saying this year after year.
Exactly,
but
that's why.
It keeps going up. We receive the results every month, and it is market month after month. There's an increase in sale of properties, number of units. It's very month after month.
Do you think there is a stop, though?
It can't be. I don't believe that there will be a stop. We talk about population increasing. Yes, can Malta take this number of people? The truth is, do we find people living in the streets? So everybody works, or the majority of people work here.
A big percent of.
Yes.
Huge percent.
So
Compared to other
the people
countries.
who don't want to work are lazy, if you ask me.
For sure.
Because we invest in many businesses. The truth is, you don't find people when you put out applications. You know, the interest locally. I will say the truth. I don't know where the locals are. I mean, it's fair. If you look at, you know,
It's true.
Look at 10 years to today. You look at hotels, retail shops, catering. These were operated by locals. Today, you don't find a local. when especially with
Where
kids.
are we? The
Where
question
are we,
is.
you know.
Really
So
good question.
okay, we're looking at gaming, this, that. But there's a large number who changed to these businesses, granted. But so I personally believe that the local market is very limited here in Malta. I mean, there isn't much. So this is why the foreigners come here and they find opportunities.
There's a question I like to ask because people at my age, they're looking into getting a loan from the bank, investing in new property and just paying off the loan through rent. Is it a good...
For sure. I mean, I
have to
myself,
start
at a
age.
younger age, had invested in an apartment each for our kids, myself and my ex-wife. We had rented it out. Today, the apartments are nearly paid with the rental, you know, and they have their own property. So we did it that they were much younger. We had bought them a unit each. At the time, we had paid, obviously, it was about more than 10 years ago. Today, besides obviously paying itself, the apartment at the time we had bought for 150,000 euros.
Exactly.
We had bought a three-bedroom apartment in Swieqi for 150,000 euros with a
Crazy.
lock-up garage, 3-bedroom. Today it's worth 350,000.
I was going to say more, exactly. Unbelievable. That's why...
And we're talking in a span of 3 years, 10 years, you know, so we're not talking at 10 years.
For sure. I've seen people that I know invested in penthouses in all these places. They've gone up like 100,000 in a year.
I myself, to the truth, I don't invest in residential property. I prefer investing in commercial and retail shops because when you look at residential, the business is different. The tenant comes in, he leaves after a couple of months, he breaks a part, he breaks a chair, the linen has to be changed. You need a month to repaint the apartment.
Which regards to commercial.
When you buy a commercial property from my end, I believe that you're renting it for a 10 or 15 year period. You're giving him the property the way it is. He's obviously going to do his changes unless no structure changes.
Exactly.
Rent is given 3 months in advance. He has a going concern, which is a business, so he's not going to close down in 2-3 weeks. You know, so that is what I personally believe in. I'm not saying it's the greatest thing, but I believe it's a sound investment.
So for whoever is watching this and wants to invest in their own property, that's what you suggest?
No, I mean, buy to rent. Buy to lets are very important. I mean, the rental market is booming. It's very strong on our island, and it keeps increasing. Stock is always a problem. I mean, we have a team of over 100 letting agents who keep struggling to find available stock all through the year, obviously depending on the market, but we're looking on the higher market and the lower market. Stock is always a problem. So even on the higher market, when you have high-profile clients who wants to come to Malta and wants a super house, what houses do we have to offer? How can we compete with Spain, Cyprus, and these super houses? You know, okay, we have Port Tomaso, Tigné Point. We look at luxury apartments. The truth is, few of them are luxury because many of them need to be totally refurbished. Okay, it's a super residence, but certain apartments need to be done up. And the mentality in Malta is they're renting it out. And
do you think we have a lack of property or have too many agents?
To tell the truth, when we're looking at agents, I am the president of the estate agents. I head the board of the agents here in Malta. There's some close to 4,000 estate agents. Thankfully, we are now being licensed. So this will obviously...
What does that mean?
The estate agents all have to go through an examination.
Okay.
They are licensed, which is obviously this is going to step up the game locally. And I believe that it's going to remove the Cowboys of the market. There are Cowboys which are both local and foreign, and I believe that it's going to clean up the market.
The mess.
Yes.
I get calls from agents, and that's why I believe that they make the industry so boring. They enter the industry not understanding it, yes, and also without no knowledge of sale.
But this is how it happened to me too. I mean,
no knowledge.
You know, there are people who are going to make it, and there are people. It's all about the generation. When we look at our generation of people, I think they're different to today's generation. Today's generation, kids are more relaxed. They feel comfortable. The truth is that if you stop and think today, let's look at a 20-year-old kid. Okay, these and our occasions, most of these kids are going to be rich kids.
Why do you believe so?
Because listen, they have 2 grandparents. Okay, so their grandparents will pass away once. They have houses which can be probably demolished or built. So today, a house is what, a minimum of €500,000, close to €1,000,000. You know, their parents' property. So in reality, a large number of these people are going to be in brackets.
But isn't everyone the same?
Millionaires.
At your age, you're the same, no?
Yes, I know. Yes, okay, granted. But the market was different. I mean,
For sure,
you know,
exactly.
Today we're talking on a silly terraced house. It's touching €1,000,000.
I was speaking to one of my friends, and he mentioned, I forgot the situation, he mentioned that he bought a place for 4,000 Maltese lire, exactly.
That's €10,000.
But I responded in a way, and I stated, but that was the price back then.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna look back 10 years from now and I said
it's
gonna be the same. So he was like, yeah, but the reality is that it wasn't to have 4,000 in your bank account that is min.
And
you have to work.
That is where there was a lot of land at the time. That is where you're saying
For
there
sure.
was Malta was totally green. You know, I mean, there were a large number of plots on the market. People didn't believe in property from that end. Few were the people who believed in real estate and property. So I don't believe that the people who were smart and who bought a few plots, today look back and laugh.
There's so many people that are so rich with the land they have.
Oof.
For example, local farmers.
Oof. It's incredible.
It's unbelievable. I want to focus now on your transition from Remax to Alliance.
Okay, so the truth is, no bad blood. I mean, I've spent a great 15 years plus at the company. I mean, I saw it grow from zero to what the company is up to 5 years ago. Unfortunately, it came to a time that I wanted to keep growing, and head office didn't let me continue growing the business. They had stopped me from opening more franchises.
Why is that?
I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty, you know, but I mean, it's probably we were outgrowing the company, I don't know.
Okay.
But again, I'm not talking about. But they stopped me from increasing the number of offices. They started giving me certain restrictions. It started getting a bit suffocating. And they gave us no other option but to think otherwise. I obviously, at the time, studied what else was on the market. I was offered many opportunities to grow and take my offices and increase the number of companies and that. But I said, listen, if these people are all opening franchises, why can't I do it?
Exactly. You had the people as well, the back of the people.
And that was obviously the question mark. We didn't have anything at the time, because don't forget, those people were working for one brand, one company, you know. So for me, that was probably the most emotional day in my life after having my kids, because
Take us through it.
So let's forget obviously the exiting of the company, this and that, but when it came for me speaking to my partners and management and told them, listen guys, I have to exit this company, I have this plan, a dream, and I understand if you guys want to remain here, you know, you all have families and all.
120 people?
No, at the time it was only the management.
Okay.
Because I first had to obviously put it on the table to the management, and I got full confidence from the management team and partners, and they gave me full backup. So I told them, guys, I will obviously thank you, and we had to go back to the number of agents and obviously launch this for the number of agents. Don't forget, these people were working for a brand, and telling them,
you met them one by one?
No. It was an event where obviously head office told me you have a date to tell your people that they are, you know. So we had an event, and we told them, we explained what's going to happen. And they, again, we were 120 people, and 120 people had left the company and joined us, you know, and joined our dream at the end, my dream. I mean, so I had a great responsibility. It's no joke. Little did I know that after signing our exit, 2 weeks after, COVID kicked in. So believe me, the responsibility was 10 times worse.
Shit.
We were having meetings, Zoom meetings, you know, Zoom had come in at the time, Zoom calls.
How was property back then, during COVID? It's a good question.
During COVID, in reality, since there was no traffic, no people on the streets, buildings were being built at a quicker pace, you know. But obviously everybody was concerned of getting COVID, you know, so there were people were probably wearing masks at the time. But the market had changed. Don't forget, there was a time that Airbnb switched off, and all the apartments which are on the market with Airbnb came on the market available. They were available. So let's say you were renting an apartment on the seafront at, I don't know, 5,000 euros. The client who was paying 5,000 euros on side streets was offering
Exactly.
a seafront apartment, so people were moving and changing properties. Don't forget, it was
So rented we're talking
yes,
about.
rented. So there was a stressful time where many people were living in their apartments. We were all locked up at home, looking at 10 cases. You don't remember there was, what's her name, and they used to get up 10 cases
Exactly.
positive,
Exactly.
20
exactly.
healed, that. So we were all at the news,
That's like
seeing
6
what's
o'clock.
happening.
Well,
Exactly. That's what they were. It's nice times, and it was obviously.
But it being your highlight of your life, one of the highlights of your life.
For me, this was probably after having my kids.
What was the day like? That day like?
You have to go open
One
up.
phone call. What was the vibe around it? So obviously, 120 people transitioning into.
Literally, no. What happened was that we had an amount of time which we had to remove all the branding, the signage, and obviously rebrand. We obviously had the company franchise it's an American company, and also there's some thick. There was a lot of fine lines which you had to be careful. There were certain restrictions which we couldn't work on. But anyway, we took the gamble and we proceeded. But we had a small amount of time where we had to rebrand, remove the signs. We had no sort of stationery or paperwork with the previous brand, so it was very hectic. There was a number of properties, thousands of properties, which we couldn't work on for 18 months. We couldn't do rentals for 18 months, so I lost all my rental team. 2 offices, I had to close down 2 offices. Anyway, these are restrictions which were agreed on. They were all done, and obviously today I look forward, look happy. I thank them for the years we worked together,
Did they end up coming back?
No blood. No, I would never be interested to obviously make business with them again, but they've done their thing, we've done our thing. Today we look forward, we're at 30 offices and just under 500 people, so we've grown a lot. There's a lot happening. It's not obviously over from my end. I've got a great team of people around me who support me, and it's day-to-day operation, when you have a large
5
number of
years
people.
later.
5 years later.
What's
Today we're
happening?
here, shocked. You can't believe it. We're from our end, we couldn't. The number of offices which were coming back to us to open, because the truth is we expanded such as a short time, because instead of people coming over and opening an office, existing offices were coming to join us. So basically, you had your own office with 10 people, you removed your sign and put on our sign. So
And there's a fee to it.
Sorry?
There's a fee to it.
Certain areas there were people
The
who
franchise
had
fee.
their own brand, and decided to plug into our system, and this is what grew our business.
How does that work? You mind opening up about it? So let's say Luca Camilleri wants to open up. I have a place.
Yes.
I want to open up my own office. How does that work? So I call Mike and I tell him I want to
No,
open.
today we have a team of people. We give you we sit down, explain. We have heads of department, training, and how it's done. We obviously have some restrictions, and there's franchise agreement which has to be signed. The branding in the offices, what needs to be done. Obviously, we give all the support, training. We plug into our system. The most important thing today: what is a real estate company? And why do estate agents join our company? I think we have one of the largest databases on the market. Largest database being because when we look at sales agents, we have over 240 sales agents. So obviously, all these agents are inputting property. We have the largest sales team on the island. So why does an estate agent join our company? Because
The name?
the name, but the real thing is stock. Because
Property.
if you're working in a company with 50 agents, you're only putting the effort of 50 agents putting in property.
For sure.
When you're coming to us, you have 240 agents. So let's say, you will need to search an apartment in Porto Maso. Competition are going to have 10 and we will have 12, 13. But those 3 apartments will be the apartments which are probably not on the market with many.
For sure.
And those are the apartments which sell realistically. And so your competitor is offering the 10, we have the same 10, but we have those 3 which are extra, and these come due to the large number of agents joining the team.
During these 5 years of operation, how much did the company turn over?
This year we just had our JM 2 weeks ago, and it's just shy of 500 mil, with 489,000. The truth is we had exceeded 500 mil, but a promise of sale dropped in the last weeks, so we're at 510 mil. I believe it's a great number. I believe that
During the 5 years, though,
no,
combined.
we started obviously we started at 150 mil, 200, 250, 300, and the last years we exploded there.
What's your next goal for this year?
We have some plans, which will be coming out in the next months. Obviously, the truth is, competition, I don't look at competition. We are our own competition, because to bring up 500 million is no joke. So we're month by month, week by week, you know.
Exactly.
It's not easy. So we are our own competition. And
Competition is healthy, huh?
yes, but
Locally, you're saying competition.
Yes,
Do
yes,
you
yes.
believe there's local competition with you?
So everybody's good, you know. Everybody has good businesses going. I don't like to boast anyway. I have our team of people. We work hard. We've done great numbers. But the truth is, you are only as good as your last performance. 1st of January, we're all back to zero.
For sure.
You know, so, and the truth is, listen, how many companies went up and went down. It could even happen to us, you know. So that's why it's not good to boast. You know, it's very important to remain humble. People who start from humble beginnings remain humble most of the time. People who are born in money maybe have it in a different way. But for tomorrow some new company comes in and takes over.
Is that one of your fears?
Listen, let's look at the rental market today. If you look at the rental market, the majority of rental agents are foreign. I mean, let's look at our company. 90% of the sales agents are Maltese, 10 are foreign. When we look at the rental, 90% are foreign and 10 are Maltese. You know, so
why is that? Do you believe?
The rental business is a quick business. It's cash payments month after month, you know. So obviously the foreigner, the local, the Maltese have maybe some backup from families, this and that. The foreigners obviously need the cash monthly to sustain rents, families, kids.
They're
schools.
more hungry.
Yes, for sure. And the truth is, yes, foreigners are very hungry because at the end of the month, these people have their rents to pay, kids' schools, shopping, food, this, that, you know. So there's no, I'm going to go ask my mommy, I'm going to go ask, you know, I mean, or I'm going to go live back at my mom. So you're either going to do it here or you're going to pack your things and go back to your country.
Mike, I want to hit a very deep there. And as we discussed in your office, you had a very sad passing. It was your mother. She was the pillar of your life, as I could understand. And she passed away not too long ago. What was the impact on that?
My mother was sick for 7 years. She had cancer. The thing which hurt me most, shocked me, because everybody gave her a couple of years and she kept very, very strong during these 7 years. And the truth is, you never really say this, and you see her out. My mother used to go to chemotherapy. After chemotherapy, she'd go down to exercise, swim, stay there, you know, speak to people. She was a very strong woman. And the truth is, the only thing I'm very unhappy about is that I didn't believe that the time had come. I kept thinking about work and not spending much time with her. When the time came, and it was too late, she was unconscious, and it was a big shock, you know what I mean.
When you say it was too late?
She was, it came to a time that they couldn't do more chemotherapy. They put her to palliative care, but after that, the minute they stopped chemo, she vanished in a month, you know what I mean. It just happened.
Did they mention that it was coming to an end? Or was it more of you didn't realize because you were too focused on your goal?
The truth is, I had a lot going. Mentally, they're always changing chemos. They were trying to think of another chemo. My mom's veins were finished with the chemo. And it came to a stage that they had palliative care. But the truth is, with it, I didn't know what palliative care is. And basically, they're injecting morphine to let you pass without pain, you know. I kept working, focusing on work. My sister was fully dedicated, and I mean, she passed through a lot. I mean, my mother died in her hands till the last day. My sister slept with my mom.
Were you there?
I was home with my kids because I had them over that weekend. My sister called me at 5 in the morning and she told me, Mom just passed away. I left my kids home. I went to my mother. No,
What was from that phone call? What was your reaction?
I cried all the way. I was shocked. I mean, we were expecting it to happen.
Just you weren't there, that affected
yes,
you.
I wasn't there. And
You remember your last words with her?
she always wanted to talk about doing her weird
The will.
The will, and I was told her, Mom, it's not important, I mean. And she kept trying to. It's myself and my sister at the end, so we don't have any problems between us. But she kept Miss Ma, what are you going to do? Take care of your sister, and that is something I promised, that my sister and her son will be my full responsibility, and that is something I promised to my mother, and I will obviously keep. My sister is very close to me, and her son, and obviously the most important people in my life are my kids and my sister.
For sure. The last real conversation apart from the will about life.
You know what? My mother never told me how proud of me she was. After the funeral, during the funeral, many of her friends came and told me, how proud your mother was, and anyway. But it's a touching point. She never told me. And when you feel all her friends coming over and telling you that, yes, you felt good. Obviously, you were still under shock. And but
does this reflect your communication with your kids?
Yes, obviously.
Stating how proud of you are to them, because it happens to many different parents.
I mean, my kids grow very quickly. I mean, today I have a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 21-year-old. The 10-year-old, to come to me, she always has to have her best friend with her. The 14-year-old already started going out, so it's more about her going out. The 21-year-old stays, obviously, with her partner, and she's home.
Living the life, exactly.
Living the life, so so kids are growing. But I believe it is a stage. It happens to all of us. So from 14 to 20s, early 20s, we obviously all on friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, but then we come to a stage where you go back with your partner, you start going back to your parents, and you start going out to the lunches, dinners, having kids, so you get close to your family again. So this is a stage in your life that kids have to spend with their friends, So I look forward to that time where I have my 3 kids with their partners, their kids over,
friends, exactly.
Around the table and enjoying each other. I obviously love spending time with them, and they're growing up to be 3 great kids.
If you close your eyes and you think, what's one lesson your mother passed on to you?
My mother was also always very strong and happy. I mean, bringing up 2 kids alone, having 2 jobs, and it wasn't easy for her. But she always was very positive. Even if probably she had problems, this and that, she never told us about them. She was a very strong person, and she always smiled. People who know her loved her. She never talked about people, she never talked bad about anything. She was always very positive. And I believe being positive surrounds you with positive people, and gives you, and it extended her life in reality.
For sure.
Because from 1 to 2 years, living for 7 years was no joke.
If she was here right now, listening to this episode, what's one thing she would tell you currently?
What she would tell me? My mom always told me, stop and smell the plants and the flowers you are basically
close to
putting it. So you're plowing seeds and you're not giving time
to see them grow.
She told me, Mike, slow down. You have to slow down. She told me. There was a time that I was investing in different businesses, catering, retail, to hotels, real estate, property development. So you're at the office changing thinking hats all the time. At one time you're talking to a developer, the other time you're doing real estate and dealing on an apartment, the other time you're buying X amount of meat for the restaurant, and on the other end you're ordering clothes. that I was living a very hectic life. It came to a point that you have to decide, you have to do what you know how to do best. So we parted through some businesses. We sold some businesses to the people who obviously know how to do the business best.
For
you
sure.
know. So I believe you know how to, you do what you know how to do best in life.
Now with you building your businesses and obviously having bigger goals, which we'll go on to the last question I have later, how do you balance this between being a father of 3 kids and also business?
When we talk about kids, from when I was separated, it's all about spending quality time with them. Obviously, you see them for much time, much less. They look forward to coming over, and you try your best to give them quality time. You know.
If you go back in time, there's a portal, and you go back in time, what's something you'd change from maybe the situations you passed through with family building?
I mean, separation isn't an easy thing, you know, and there are families who remain
Became a norm.
together.
Became a
But
norm.
today, separation has become.
I don't really agree with it,
Yes,
but
it's the truth is, the two people who separate part ways. The people who hurt most are the kids.
for sure.
You know, so and maybe people don't separate at a time until they wait for their kids to grow up, you know, and
Could affect more, I think, to be honest.
yes, at a younger age, it's not nice to not have parents at home when you're young. You know, it's nice to be brought up in a family environment. Again, but if it becomes
Too much.
too much, you know, and you're seeing the parents argue, fight, this and that. I didn't have this stuff, but don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's healthier to move out. The truth is, probably today I feel closer to my kids and they feel closer to me because the time we spend together we look forward to.
Plus you go home and there's no conversation added.
Yes. The truth is I feel very lonely at home. Leaving a house with a wife, 3 kids, dogs, you know, helper, this and that. Moving alone, it's a totally different. Because you see people, you see yourself from the outside. People think, you know, you're okay, you live a good life and everything. But when you go home after work and you go sit down on the sofa and you're alone.
What
Okay.
was the first few weeks?
It
around?
wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. You start thinking if you made the right decision, you know, and again, from waking up to noise, kids and everything, you wake up to silence, you go home to silence, you know, so it's not easy, I mean, for anybody. But I think that the most important question mark you have in your mind is how the kids are going to take it, you know.
For sure. And how did they handle it?
I think they managed to overcome it and
Heard for sure.
they
Because
heard for
we
sure.
passed through it as well. John,
I
I'm
believe
very
that they
open.
put their mind, they focus more on dance, you know, so I believe that dance helped them a lot to surpass, you know, so they spent most of their time. Literally, my kids finish school, they're home at 3:30, and at 4:30 they're dancing till 8 o'clock every day. Saturday, 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I mean, and Sunday from 9 till 12. Really, their life is all about dance. So you don't get much time to see them, but they love spending time with their friends and dancing. So
Exactly.
if they enjoy it. But thankfully, I mean, it took a lot of their time and a lot of their mind, so to overcome it.
Let's go to the quick 5 questions, Mike. What do you think about that? They
Let's
are
go.
quick questions where you have to answer in a quick way.
Okay.
We'll have 6 questions. 5, 6 questions, not too sure about that. The first one. From your time on Shark Tank,
Mm-hmm.
what was the funniest moment that they never aired?
Okay. There were a few episodes to tell you the truth, but I'll tell you the truth. Shark Tank for me was an adventure. I loved it. I was very camera shy.
Okay.
So for me to overcome this is the way I want to do it. When Mark had come over and offered me this opportunity, I thought, Mark, I'm scared to be on camera, you know. He told me, Mike, I'm sure you'll be good, try this, that, and I enjoyed it, you know. I overcame my fear and I feel great. In fact, I did 2 seasons.
Seasons,
Yeah.
exactly.
I didn't do the second season because I had just separated and I didn't feel
Exactly, didn't
I don't
feel.
want to be on social. So
One funny story about that.
the truth is, once I got stuck in my chair and I was big. I mean, but there were people who came over with plans and how they're going to expand their business, but there were people who have no idea, you know, of what they were coming up with. I love the experience. I love spending time with the sharks. You know, it's
For
great.
sure,
I
they're
mean,
quite good people.
They're
They-
great people. I mean, I loved it. You know, it's because you're literally locked up 10, 12 days from morning to evening recording, you know, so you become very close to these people
For
in a
sure.
very short span. So I miss them all. I mean, they're all great people, and it was a great experience.
What's a pattern in your family sorry, dyslexia. What's a pattern in your family you're determined to break, and why?
I believe that's the fear to do it. I mean, there always was a fear to which needs to be overcome. If it's business, if it's personal, whatever it is. So I believe that I've overcome that. I've fought with it. It's not easy. Obviously, it's a gamble. I don't gamble money, and I don't never been to the casino. But high gamble is a high turnover, you know. So
Good one. Okay. What's the most painful almost of your life?
that I didn't make the move in real estate 10 years before, because today we're obviously be much larger than we are.
But I think it's all about everyone says wants to start earlier.
Exactly, yes. But if instead of making people grow, you would have grown your own business, you know.
For sure.
I feel that I was very much a large part of the previous company I worked for. So instead of growing other people, I could have grown myself. But obviously I wasn't ready to do it at the time, you know.
For sure. Everything comes with a
Yes.
lesson. Okay. If the world was ending and you could send one final message, who is it for and what would you say?
Again, going back, for me, the most important people would be my kids. Those are the 3 people I'd be looking for.
Can we focus on one person?
I'm probably closest to Thea, my eldest daughter. And she's obviously going to be the next in kin who's being taken care of. Obviously, it's not easy because I have my own business and so does her mother, so it's going to be quite a choice for her to
A
see
bit of a
where
itch,
she's going
exactly,
to go, you
yeah.
know. But she seems to tend to like the real estate business, and I really
What's the
want
message?
to believe in herself, like I believed in myself, and you can do it, you know, you can make it happen.
Last one. I love this question because every single guest has a different why and purpose to this question, and I keep asking it. I asked it in the last 2 episodes because honestly, I feel like it could impact this episode. Okay, if you walked into a room with all the people you have ever met in your life, who are you gonna walk up to and why?
So, again, I mean, it's a hard question. And
Very hard question.
it falls again to the people who are closest to you. So, unfortunately, it's going to go back to my kids. I mean, who do you have in reality? I mean, okay, you have a partner, a girlfriend, this or that, but your kids are yours. They're always going to be yours. So, I mean, I've met so many people in my life, and I've helped so many people grow their businesses.
And apart from kids, one person.
My mother, probably. My mother. She was a very instrumental part of my life, and obviously just losing her, it goes sinking straight to her.
So as the last part of this episode, we always have the journal right here, which every single guest leaves a question for the next guest. They don't know who the guest is, and you'll be doing the same for yourself. So I'm going to read the question out. Let's hope it's good handwriting.
Okay.
And let's read it out. Would you want your children to be in the same field of work as you?
I want you to have 3 kids. I believe that Thea, my eldest, will take over what I've done today, and yes, I believe she would. Nina's planned my middle daughter to be a lawyer, and Mia, my youngest, is only 10 years old, so I don't know. But obviously the next thinking will be Thea. She's turned 21, and she's already won some awards with us, and she's doing a great job. I look up to her a lot. She's doing great, both in her personal life, her work life, and she's growing up to be a great woman. Now that the episode is coming to an end, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me here. It was great.
Likewise.
A bit long. No, but I got you a gift. For you, it won't mean a lot, but basically,
For you, it means a lot, I say. Okay.
yes, this is something very special. Last summer, it was our 5th year anniversary, and this was a momentum, a gift that we gave to all the people who believed in me 5 years ago. You've got a 5 here at the back, and this is our logo here, who believed in our dream 5 years ago, and today, look at what we have done. And we gave them this, and give this to you.
It's quite heavy, yeah? It's really nice.
Glass. It's a great, small gesture, but
It's
I
really
mean,
nice. Thank you
very
so
much of
much.
appreciation.
It will be one of our in the cabinet of our gifts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mike, can I shake your hand?
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Just to let you know, everything you see here is on our website, www.teamchampionsconnect.com. Thank you so much for coming. I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Any last words for the audience?
I'd like to congratulate you for the great job you're doing.
Thank you so
and
much.
Wish everybody the best.
Thanks, Mike. And as always, Champions Connect out. Sorted. Tayyip. Bravi.